Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with AmericanScouser.com. Got the coffee going. That is the boss this morning. And with us is Friday, so we got Kenrick from the Jamaica group. What's going on, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm here. Happy to be here because the Premier League is back and Liverpool is back.
Yes, right. I mean, at least we're not talking about the World Cup with us with anymore, and we can be wrong with those predictions, which we did pretty good actually. Alan is with us as always. Good morning, Alan. Yeah, we had some like technical difficulties yesterday too. The Thursday night show was not live. It is up on our YouTube channel right now though, so you guys can watch that as a pre-game show, if you will. It's I would like to blame Mecca and technical difficulties, but mostly Mecca. We'll blame him. It's a lot easier. So let's get to some of the headlines, and then I want to talk about the Leicester game as well. But let's hit a couple of the headlines together, and then we'll get to that. The biggest news, obviously, is the sad passing of like Pele yesterday.
Yes.
Um, I mean, we have not been able to watch him like live like we do with Messi or Ronaldo, but I mean, it's one of those guys when you do the GOAT conversation and stuff. I always hate comparing people's from different eras because the game is so different. But he is basically the person that has pretty much like changed the game for the most part, right?
Yes, I would agree. Pele, I mean, God rest his soul, he came in at a time when, for me personally, we never really saw, I mean, superstars that looked like persons like I looked, and it was good to see somebody come through. Well, I wasn't there at the time, but just looking back at the history of it, to see somebody come through who was not a European, who came from one of the more unfancied at the time nations in football and really came through and made his mark. And the way he announced himself to the world scene, scoring in a World Cup final at the age of 17 years old was very remarkable. And he would have just brought this whole new era of sexy football into prominence. So for that, I rate Pele highly because he would have revolutionized the game and made it more a game of the people. You know, a lot of entertainment, especially with that 1970 team. Wow. I mean, even to this day, we still speak of that team as being one of the most talented teams ever put forward. And Pele was at the heart of that. He made that team tick. So he will be missed. And Pele has really left an indelible mark on world football. And we'll forever thank him for that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of documentaries about him as well. I mean, he has like a really huge story, kind of like obviously, especially in like South America and Africa and stuff like that, especially footballers are always try to be drawn into politics and somehow get involved in stuff. So there's a lot to his story when it comes to that as well. But yeah, I think that's like a perfect way to put it. I think he's brought sexy in football in terms of maybe because he made Brazil and Brazilian football more like predominant across Europe because people were watching Pele, so they were watching more Brazil and stuff like that. So he brought that to the game that was at least at the time was kind of like a foreign thing. But yeah, I mean it's definitely I mean a lot of the younger kids out there that who probably maybe seen highlights here and there just go to YouTube like we always do with new players and just look at some of his stuff but yeah, I think it's hard even to understand the scope of it because you got to watch that and you got to kind of put that in the era he played. So it kind of like magnifies like tenfold compared to, like watching it now. And that's why I feel like, it's not fair to compare like players from different eras and stuff like that. But I think he's almost like the beginning of like a superstar when it comes to the game. That's why I always kind of like refer him to as like the greatest of all time because I feel like he's kind of like the first to be that big of a star. Oh, your mic is off.
Yes, true. He really became a star, especially in Jamaica. I can speak from a Jamaican context that I grew up hearing about this great Pele. And when I had the opportunity to go back and watch the clips, I would have seen why he would have resonated so well in a culture like Jamaica and across the Caribbean and across many of the the African diaspora. I mean, Pele, because of just his physical attributes and just how relatable he was to how we identify here in the Caribbean and in the African diaspora. He was really revered as somebody special to us, and I'm sure his passing will be mourned throughout the diaspora as well.
A couple more headlines. I saw this. I know. I mean, honestly, normally I would not know the bar. He plays for Wanderers, and in the Plymouth match, he collapsed after the game, and he was like taken. And I guess like Plymouth match even said, I think Alan posted as well. Like the guy was like coughing up blood and kind of like really struggling to breathe, and the issue with his lungs. And I just know him because Gibraltar, who he plays for. I mean, he is basically the man for the team, and they were in Turkey's group. And I watched him, and I was actually shocked that nobody else picked him up from just those performances alone, because the dude like carries by himself. Really, really good player. So hope he's doing better and well, and it's nothing serious. It's always scary when you see stuff like this, Kenrick, when these guys go through so many freaking like checkups and stuff like that, and the fact that it's still stuff like this still happens is definitely scary for us people who don't get as many checkups. So it's always scary to see like when something like that happens to like an active player. But let's get to today's game. Obviously, what do we have here? Like 6 hours or so before the Leicester game. What do you expect to see? Oh, your camera just disappeared. Man, this has been a week of technical difficulties this week at American Scouts, or so I know what's going on. Finishing the year with a bang over here. But until Karen gets back, let's take a look at like the game over here. Taking on Leicester. Probably we will be seeing something close to. There you go. You're back.
Yes.
I'm assuming we're going to see with the same injuries that we had. I think the only difference is Konate being back. Bobby is still out. What kind of a lineup do you expect to see in 6 hours over here?
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Tim. I think I'm having some gremlins this morning, but going into today's game against Leicester. I mean, Leicester, they've not been having a good time at all. They've been really having a torrid time in the Premier League this season, and they could be dragged into a relegation dogfight very soon. I expect Liverpool to make sure that happens, that we actually take 3 points from them. Nothing malicious against Leicester, but it's just that we have to start winning. We have to start picking up Premier League points. We're still way too low for my liking at this stage of the season, even though we are technically not at the midway stage, which we normally would have been if we didn't have the World Cup, but we still need to start picking up some points. And these points will propel us up the table. I do not like to see some of the names that are above us. So we'll have to take advantage of Leicester's poor form by jumping on top of them and grabbing those 3 points. So, and I expect us to do that today.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester, it's one of those things, like we were talking about this. It was going to be interesting to see how teams come back from the World Cup. Like the ones that went in on a high, are they going to keep that? The ones that went in on a low, are they going to be able to turn it around kind of thing? Honestly, like it's too early to tell because there's only been like one basically set of matches since we came back. But Leicester was kind of like fixing their issues, looked like. And then you see them like in the first game kind of like really play very poorly, but they were playing against Newcastle, who probably is looking more and more like will finish in the top four. Do you take that game where they lost to the Newcastle at home 3-0? Do you take that? Do you put that more on Newcastle or do you put that more on Leicester City?
I put that more on Leicester City. Well, Newcastle, they've been playing well. I mean, Almiron is playing extremely well. He's on good form. He's picking up goals for them. He's very enthusiastic running down that right channel, cutting inside and causing havoc. So he's been doing well. But all in all, I think that game I would put down mainly to Leicester's struggles much more than Newcastle's brilliance. And I mean, Leicester have been struggling to stop anyone this season. I mean, they've been
Yeah,
leaking
true.
goals left, right, and center. So, I mean, I put it down to the ineptitude of Leicester more than the brilliance of Newcastle.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, they have conceded 28 goals. I mean, for where they are in the season, yeah, they're like a -3 average right now. But so in terms of lineup, I'm assuming it's too early for Kanate, but he might like be on the bench today. Do you expect anything? Do you expect in rotation, like maybe like a Costas or somebody like that, or do we kind of like keep going with the same 11 that we had, knowing we have another game coming up over here Tuesday? So.
Yes, I really do expect some changes. We had Alex Oxley Chamberlain in the starting lineup in our last game. To be honest with you, not that he did badly, but I do not expect him to maintain that spot too long. I think we would expect to go back to our normal front three, even though that normal front three is still evolving with Nunez in there. But I think Nunez being a bona fide number nine, which we've not had for a number of years. I think Klopp will continue with Nunez, even though he's struggling in front of goal. He's woefully out of confidence and form in terms of finishing, but I expect him to maintain his place. Salah plays regardless. Salah needs to play, but that third member of the attack, well, as I said before, Alex held it the last match. I'm not sure if he had done enough to keep his spot
So
in the
who
top
would you
three.
put there instead of Ox today
Oh
if it
boy,
was up to you? Because
that's
there's
an
not a lot of options either. That's the problem.
yeah, we do not have a lot of options. We don't have a lot of options. So it just comes down to who is fit. And based on
Yeah.
that, as long as Ox himself, who tends to get injured pretty quickly as well, he may keep his spot, considering that he really had a good game because he had a hand in a couple of the goals that were scored as well. So I think he may have done enough to maintain his spot. Um, what was good though for me, and I think I said it the last time I was on here, is that we had a Navigator sighting. And if that guy steps up his game and really manage to keep himself on the pitch, then it would open up a lot more options for Klopp in terms of how he rotates those persons in the top three and also in the midfield. But I think Klopp is gonna maintain the team that started against Leicester. And if any changes would come in, I think that change would be Alex Oxlade Chamberlain stepping out and somebody else, whoever that is, that can step into that third member of the top three.
Yeah, that's the weird. I mean, I was talking about that on Monday's podcast too, because I really think, watching how Leicester play and how they struggle to build from the back and they insist on doing it. And so they can be really counter press, and that's where you can cause them trouble. That's what Newcastle was doing as well. I mean, their first goal came from that counter pressing up top where Leicester just gave the ball away. And Keita is like perfectly suited for that. But Yali and Bickler were saying, and I think they're right in that sense that it might be too early for a start for Keita, who's only giving like 20, 30 minutes at a time. But we could definitely see them in the second half, and I think he can make like an impact in this game. So Ryan says, I'll get your take on this. He says, what do you guys think about Nunez on the left and Carvalho in the nine? The only issue I have with Carvalho is
Mm,
I think, when we put Bobby there, and, here's the thing, the hope, at least my hope was, and still is, that Carvalho is the next Bobby and he learns from Bobby because I think he has a lot of tools that Bobby has. The only difference is Bobby is a lot stronger than we give him credit for physically.
yes.
So he's able to, even though he's not a traditional number nine, he's like a fake nine. He can hold the ball and he can protect the ball. He can screen and stuff like a number nine. I just don't see Carvalho being able to do that physically right now. He's more like gonna like run around, and then what's gonna happen is we're gonna have an extra midfielder, but not really a forward. That's my only concern. What's your take on that?
I agree. I mean, he's a young player. He's had some impact. However, I do not see him displacing any of the members of the top three. I think we should stick with Nunez playing through the middle. While he's been missing a lot of chances, but the fact that he's there getting the chances tells you
Yeah.
that he's keeping the defense occupied. He's doing some good things. All he needs to do is to apply that cherry on top by just taking some of these chances. I do not think we should blow it up. There's still a lot there to work with. He does seem to be willing to go again after he misses a chance. His head
Yeah.
doesn't drop for me. He still tries to make the runs. He tries to put himself in position to score, and eventually he might get it right. I can draw a parallel to another player from South America who played for another team that shall remain nameless, Diego Forlan. You remember when Diego Forlan came
Yes.
to Premier League, he missed. It took a long time before he hit his stride. But once he hit his stride, Diego Forlan was an excellent player in the Premier League, and I see Nunez going down that same path. Towards the start of his career here at Liverpool, yes, he has had some goals, but he's not had the impact that we expect him to have. I can see the ingredients of him having an impact there in his game. He has good size, he's physical, he's good in the air, he's willing to run the channels, and those are the things, those are the good attributes of a number nine. Give him time, he will get it right. Especially under a coach like Klopp, I think he's gonna get it right.
Yeah, and I think he does tend to like kind of like go left anyway, even when he's central. I almost feel like, yes, he's not finishing maybe at the rates we would like, but his contribution overall is still there by creating, by getting in
Exactly.
those situations. And if nothing else, he's willing to make those runs. And I know, he gets a lot of slack for like some of them being off and stuff like that, but he is willing to make those runs, and that occupies center backs and gets attention, opens up a lot of space for others around him. So I kind of like that about him. And I think when he's in the middle, that is a lot harder to defend as opposed to like kind of like putting him on the wing and make him a bit easier to defend, maybe because you can kind of, slide one of your center backs slightly behind the back so that, you can cover his speed. Whereas when he's in the middle, people don't know which way he's going to go. So that's very difficult for a center back to cover. So I do like him in the middle. And I agree. I think unless you really have Bobby in the middle, so you have somebody who can only play in the middle, I still want Nunez in the middle. And we now with like Gakpo and stuff like that, we have people on the wings around them once Diaz gets back. So I can definitely see that. Ryan says, how about 4-4-2 for now? The only issue with the 4-4-2 is we can barely muster 3 midfielders. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get like 4 midfielders out there. I do expect to see Elliott out there actually today as well. I don't know if it would be for Thiago or Hendo, but I do expect to see Elliott out there. But this is do you think Leicester sits back and tries to counter? Does not seem very Rogers like. But what do you expect to
Yes.
see from their end?
Well, I think they're gonna sit back and try to counter. It would be silly of Leicester to think they can come and press Liverpool early and try to play a high line based on how we love to run the channels and we love to hit those splitting passes between the centre back and the full back. If they step up the field and try to play a higher line, we can definitely exploit that, especially if we have Thiago in the midfield, who's an excellent passer off the ball. And even though he doesn't get enough credit, I think Hendo does an excellent job of
Oh, yeah.
hitting those seams as well. We will definitely capitalize on that. And with the running of Salah on the right and the running of Nunez down the middle or on the left, if Leicester plays a high line or try to press us, I think we will capitalize on that. I hope they do that. I hope they come
Yes.
and come out and try to play, because I think based on the team we have this year, Liverpool, we have been struggling to break teams down that sit back. But if a team comes at us, we can really open the game up and benefit from those spaces that will be created. So I hope Leicester comes at us. I wish they would.
Yes, I'm hoping for a little Rogers arrogance in doing that, like kind of like punching above your level, if you will. But yeah,
Yes.
Ryan says great opportunity for Ox. Those are getting less and less, I think, and this might be
Yes.
like one of the few chances he gets, if he gets it, kind of like Henrik is saying. If it wasn't for the game coming up on Tuesday again, which obviously, I mean, it's still 3-4 days at this time of year is not too shabby. 3 days is, I think, when you get concerned. But like you kind of alluded to it, I don't know if Ox can rack up that many minutes for one within a short period. And so I don't know if we see Carvalho there, which I do not love. But I mean, moving forward, man, I mean, you were just talking about it, Kenrick. Imagine having, like Nunez in the middle, you have Mo on the right hand side, and then you can have Diaz or Gakpo on the other side. That is a lot of speed coming at a team, and it is really hard to stop.
It's really hard to stop. And talking about Gakpo, that signing, I was really thinking about.
Oh, that's right. We never got the chance to talk about that. Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, I'm really thinking about him though. The way I saw him playing in the World Cup, playing as a number 9 for for Netherlands. But he's one of those players. Well, the position of number 9, that centre forward, has been evolving.
Yeah.
They tend to bank either left or right because most players are right-footed. They tend to bank left a lot and play a lot through the left channel into the centre, much more than how we would normally get to see a not Cristiano Ronaldo, a Ronaldo da Lima, which is the real Ronaldo, play through the center. Who is my benchmark for number 9s? I think Gakpo could definitely come in as a member of the top 3 on the left, because I don't think we've had somebody to really replace Mane on the left, that left channel, willing runner that is very effective, that gets past players, that gets in the box, tries to win us a penalty, tries to get those balls across the box so that Salah can tap in and not return the favor. So, something like that. So I hope Gakpo comes in and actually gives us somebody more reliable on the left, because that position is where we chop and change almost every week. We have somebody else playing there. But if Gakpo
I
comes in
think,
and
yeah,
does that, it
loss
would be
of
great.
Diaz, because I felt like when we had Diaz, we had like replaced that, and we had somebody on the left hand side just causing havoc, and he was probably our best like player at the time when he got injured. I mean, if you take Allison out of the equation, he was probably the most consistent, most effective one. And yeah, losing him has been a huge loss. And now, I mean, I don't know, when you say March after you said December, it's kind of scary as to like when we will see him. But so let's get a prediction from you for the game, because I know you have to get running. What do you
Yes.
have for a game score prediction? Time to make predictions that go wrong.
Well, let me say that now that I'm wearing the red of Liverpool, which makes me much more invincible when it comes onto predictions, let me go out not on a flimsy, shaky limb, but on a sturdy bough of that tree, and say Liverpool 3, Leicester 0.
3-0, huh?
3
I'm
0.
sticking with my 3-1. I'm sticking with my 3-1. I
They
really
don't
think
score.
this should be a win, and it should be. I mean, these 3 points are huge until reinforcements arrive. So let's
Yes.
keep racking them up. Let's hopefully have a good game. We'll call it a day for today. Hope
Yes.
everybody enjoys the game. Enjoy your weekend. Happy New
Yes.
Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you as well, Kenrick. There we go. There we go. It's game time, baby. 6 hours.
Game time.
Wait. Alan is going with the 4-0. He's sticking with that prediction. So, hey, I'm all for it. Let's just get
I
the
like
3 points.
Allen. Let's go, Allen. Liverpool.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy
You
New
too.
Year, and have
Happy New
enjoy
Year.
the game. Take care.